Good afternoon. My name is Maggie Downs, and this is my second virtual review where I will be reviewing and ranking the last three 30 for 30s that we watched this far in class. The titles of those being You Don't Know Bo, Requiem for the Big East, and The Legend of Eddie Aikau. So, first, I'm going to give a brief summary of each documentary that we watched and then afterwards rank them, although I think that ranking them will be kind of hard, just like it was for the last one that I did, because each 30 for 30 was just like so unique to itself and just like different from the others that I find it's gonna probably be hard to compare them or tell you which one that I liked the best, especially since all three were great films and really well done, but I'll do my best. So, to start, Better Know, You Don't Know Bo gives a close look at Bo Jackson's athletic career as a professional football and baseball player in the 80s and 90s. The film begins by explaining his rise to fame as a football player at college at Auburn University, and then kind of talks about his turn to the other sport that he was passionate about, baseball, and then how he dealt with playing both of those sports. I thought that it was pretty cool to see like how incredible his journey was, being a star athlete in two different sports professionally, and then eventually injuring his hip, and then kind of briefly talks about how he was never really the same athlete after. I enjoyed this 30 for 30 because I had really only had like a base understanding of what he really accomplished as a two sport athlete, especially like in our era, like in the past century. But now I can kind of fully grasp after watching it, like what he was able to do as this like kind of like freak athlete or a powerhouse athlete. So next, we watched The Requiem for the Big East. And I thought that it showed a really cool perspective on college basketball and how the Big East really came to be. Actually, afterwards, after watching it, I found myself asking my mom and dad more about this 30 for 30, just because I wanted to learn more about it. And my dad's a huge college basketball fan, and my mom went to Villanova when Massimino was the coach there. So the documentary kind of explains the rise of the Big East Conference and how remarkable it was that a conference would be able to sustain itself financially without football being kind of like the leading moneymaker, which almost every other conference, I think, in America makes the most of its money through football being kind of at the forefront of their conference. I'm also a huge fan of college basketball, so I found it interesting, just learning more about the Big East, like since that they're pretty much like the biggest college basketball conference, and sort of understanding the roles that each college, each school played in the 80s and 90s, in sustaining like a conference like the Big East. So the last 30 for 30 that we watched was The Legend of Eddie Aikau, which kind of shed light on Eddie Aikau's life as a big wave surfer and lifeguard on the North Shore of Oahu in Hawaii. I found this documentary to be super interesting and really inspiring to watch, and I was really happy that we were able to watch it 30 for 30 about a sport that wasn't as popular. I hadn't heard of Eddie Aikau before watching the documentary, as I'm sure most people in our class probably hadn't heard of him either, but his story is truly like an inspirational one, and he really did leave a legacy behind, especially in Hawaii. Everyone who knew Eddie, like throughout the 30 for 30, just could only say great things about him and his accomplishments in not only big wave surfing, but also through his community as a lifeguard. And I feel like those are just only like a couple of reasons why he's just looked so highly upon throughout the world, but especially in Hawaii. I really loved this 30 for 30. It might rank higher than any of the other ones that we watched so far, and I'm really happy that you were able to show us this one to us and we were able to watch it, because I do think it's important, for you to show us athletes and sports that aren't as popular. And the story itself really reminded me a lot of Terry Fox's story, because they're kind of two lesser known athletes, but they really did have a pretty huge impact on their communities, respectively. So overall, if I had to rank the 30 for 30s, I would put The Legend of Eddie Aikau first, then followed by The Requiem for the Big East, and then finally You Don't Know Bo. Um, Although I did enjoy learning about all three stories, and I really don't think any 30 for 30 deserves to not be shown in future classes since I learned something from all three of them. But overall, I think it's important that we learn more about stories like Bo Jackson or athletes like Bo Jackson. But I think it's just as important, or even maybe a little bit more important, to learn more about athletes like Eddie Aikau's or stories like how the Big East came to be, since so many people are unfamiliar with these aspects of sports as opposed to well known athletes like Bo Jackson. So, thank you.